Hi everyone, welcome to another video on competitive programming. Today I've also picked another problem which is again a Leetcode problem, and the name of the problem is the jewels and stones. Right, so this is a very simple problem. It's not very difficult problem, and basically you're going to learn a new technique from this problem which you can apply to many such types of problems to obtain optimization. So I will just show you what this problem is, and we will go through the whole solution. Right, so let's start with the problem first. So inside of the problem, we can see the problem name is jewels and stones. So basically the input given to the problem has two strings. One is J string and one is S string. Now in the S string we have this you can see these are some of the characters in this string S. So in this string, we have these characters. You can see A, capital A. So first thing is that all these characters represents the type of stone, right? So basically there are different types of stones. We have all the collection of stones, and each character in this string is representing what type of stone it is. Now this means that it is actually a case sensitive, right? So this is a case sensitive approach. So A is a different type of stone and capital A is a different type of stone. So now we have another string J here which represents the jewels. Now in jewels you can see we have two characters which is A and A. Now these characters represents that the type of these stones are actually jewels. So basically you have a collection of stones, and out of those stones there are some types of stones which are jewels, right? So you can see that A is a jewel and capital A is also a jewel. So what you need to do is you will have to write a function which will return how many how many jewels are there in the stones, right? So you can see that A is a jewel and capital A is also a jewel, and you can see in the stones we have three of such types of stones. So the output here you can see is 3. You can see the output is 3. So basically in Leetcode you will see something similar like this. We have the class solution, and in the public section we have this function that we have to write for ourselves, right? So this is the num jewels in stones. So basically this will return the number of jewels that are there in the stones. Now it is provided two strings automatically, it is provided. So you do not need to define it, you will just have to use it, right? Now the next thing is, how can we actually find the number of jewels in these stones? So the first approach, which is a more traditional approach and not so optimized approach, is that I will check this character with each and every character of the stones, and I will maintain a variable count. So whenever we have a match, we will just increment the value of count. Then we have this second type, and again we are going to compare it with all the values, all the types of stones, right? So this is a general approach, and this approach will use a nested for loop, right? One to iterate over these jewels and one for the iteration over all the stones. Now we know that in case of nested for loop, we have a big O of n square time complexity. And one thing which is given inside this problem is that this number of stones, these strings J and S, can have maximum value of 50. So in that case, you can see that this time complexity is not a good time complexity. So we will have to figure out how can we optimize such type of a problem. So now the approach that I'm going to show you now is a general approach, and this you can apply this approach on different types of problems, which I will also discuss later. Uh, So first thing is, how can we optimize it? So we are going to use a map. In C++, we have map. Now what is a map? A map can have the value keys and values. Just like a hash table, we have a map. You can implement it in Java also. We have hash map in Java. So now what you need to do is, you have keys and values. So what you will do is, you will push all the characters in the J string inside of the map that we will define, and we will push the values as 1 here. Then what we will do is, we will run a for loop to traverse inside S, right? So I will go till S, and we will go from 0 position to the last position, and at each and every step we are going to use the find function. We're going to use the find function, which is already defined, which is an inbuilt function given by the unordered map in C++. We will see that later, but we will use a find function which will be able to find out that a particular type of jewel is present or not. So we will compare it, and then whenever we find a match, we will increment the value of count. Right? We will increment the value of count by 1, and finally we will return the count, and we will get the result. So let's get started. Let's see how can we define such a map. So the first thing is, we will use unordered map, which is of standard template library. We are using standard template library to implement unordered map. So we have to give two, this is basically how we define an unordered map. Inside we have to give two type parameters. One represents the type of keys and one represents the type of values. You can see the data type of the keys is character, and the data type of values is actually integer. So here I will pass character comma integer, right? And let's name the map as let's say my map, right? So now we have defined a map. Now what we want to do is, we have to push all the characters in our J string inside of the map. So we will run a for loop which will go from int I equals 0. We will run it unless the value of I, or the value of j of I, is not equal to this value, which means we have not reached the end of the string. And finally we are going to increment the value of I. Alright, so let's push these characters inside the map. In order to do so, what we need to do is, we will have to use the map, my map, right? And inside this we will use this these square brackets, and inside it I will provide j of I, like this. And what I want to do is, I will just assign a plus plus operator. So what this line will do for me, what this line will do is, it will create a my map, which is an unordered map with key values as the characters of j of I. You can see, you can use it. For example, if I have j of 0, then it means the character at the 0th position, which is a. So it will push the character a in my map, and it will increment the value by 1, right? So that's why we are using plus plus. So now we have pushed, we have done our first step. So basically this is our first step. So we have pushed all the values inside of the map. Now the last thing is to find whether the particular type of character inside of the string is present inside this map or not. So let's see how we can do this. So first of all, I will create a for loop which goes from int I equals to 0. Now this time we are going to use s of I not equal to 0 and plus plus I. So we are actually traversing in the whole S string, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to write an if case here. And before that, I will create a variable count, and count equals to, initially it is initialized as 0. Now I will use a mymap.find function, mymap.find function, and inside it I will pass each and every character, which is s of I, like this. Now this find function in the standard template library unordered map, this find function, what it does, it tries to it calls an iterator which goes from each and every value, right? So we have an iterator which basically iterates over each and every record inside of the map. So the find function will assign an iterator which goes from one position to another, and it will find out the value which is given here, the key which is given here. You can see that I'm giving the characters of the string s as key, right? So it will find the character inside of the map, which is basically the jewels, and what it does is it will return an iterator to that particular position, and in that manner we will be able to find that the particular record or the particular key exists inside of the map or not. Now if this find function will return will not is not able to find a particular character or a particular key, it will go to the end of the my map. So what we will do is we will have to just say that if my map.find is not equal to my map.end function, right? So basically this means that find function has not reached the end, the iterator is not pointing to the end of the map, and this means that it has actually find a match, because then only we will be able to update our count variable here. So now here what I will do is, inside of this I will increment the value of count by 1. So this is my if condition, and finally I will just return count variable, right? So in this manner I will be able to find out the number of jewels in the number of stones. Now you can see using unordered map, which is basically a hash table, is so much useful in reducing the time complexity. You can see we are using only one for loop, not a nested for loop, and that's why the time complexity of this problem is big O of n, which is much better than big O of n square. So I have also created one more video on the type of problem, which is two sum problem. It's already there in the competitive programming playlist, so you can check that out. I will give the link of that particular video in the description. What you need to do is, in the two sum problem we have optimized it using the same method, using a hash table. So basically hash tables are really useful in optimizing these types of problem. So that's all for this tutorial. Thanks for watching.